Alright, my friends, let's see if you managed to build and train on your own this logistic regression model by, of course, having a look at the scikit-learn documentation and more specifically, the scikit-learn API. And by implementing the solution together, this is exactly what we will do. I will go right now to the documentation, the scikit-learn API, in order to show you how to indeed find an information on your own, which is here, how to build that logistic regression model. All right, so let's do this. Let's open a new tab here. And in the search bar, let's just type scikit-learn. Perfect. Let's press enter and let's go, to the first link, which is the main page of scikit-learn. Then remember, it's good to go to API here. The other option was to directly type here in the search bar scikit-learn logistic regression class, okay, but I really want to show you again the API because indeed it contains everything, all the things you can do with scikit-learn. So now we're gonna scroll down to find classification, which is in a module below called linear models. Why is that? That's because, of course, the logistic regression model is a linear model, and we will clearly see that at the end with the visualization. You will clearly see, how to make the difference between a linear model and a nonlinear model. So we'll come to that later, but there you go. This is where you find, in that linear model module of the scikit-learn library, all the linear classifiers, and one of them is, of course, the logistic regression. So we're gonna click this, and there you go. Here you have the whole documentation of the logistic regression class. This is the name of the class that allows to build the logistic regression model. And so that's all you needed to get. And you could get exactly the same thing by just typing here in the search bar, scikit-learn logistic regression class. You will end up in the same page. So now what we will only take is, the name of the class plus the module, and if you want scikit-learn, and then we will rewrite it the right way to import our class and then create the object. All right, so let's just copy this. And then remember, the syntax is to start with from, so from scikit-learn, and then from the linear model module of scikit-learn, and from this linear model module, you import that logistic regression class. All right, so that's the usual syntax we take. From the linear model module of the scikit-learn library, we import the logistic regression class. And now the next natural step is to create an object of this logistic regression class, which will be exactly the logistic regression model itself. And since now we're in classification and no longer in regression, well, we're gonna call our model classifier. All right, so let's do this, classifier. And that's how we'll call all our other classification models of this part 3. So classifier, and then the next step, we have to call the class. That's how we create an instance of a class. So there we go, and then we add some parentheses. And now the question is, do we have to input any parameters? Well, so far we would just like to build the logistic regression model, but then don't worry, in part 10, I will teach you how to tune your models, which consists of, choosing the optimal values of your parameters in order to take the best version of a model. But this will come later in part 10. So far, let's just focus on how to build and train the simple logistic regression model, which will yet provide amazing results. All right, so no parameters here. However, we'll just, enter this random state parameter, which will allow us to get the same results displayed on our notebook. So this is just for teaching purposes. You don't have to do it on your own data sets for your own problems. All right, so random state, and we'll set that equal to 0. Perfect. And now, final step, you know what you have to do, right? We have to take first our classifier, and then, well, now what we want to do is to train our classifier on the training set, because remember that this line of code only builds the logistic regression model but doesn't train it yet, and this next line of code is indeed the final step where we train our classifier on the training set. And remember, to do this we have to call the fit method, which takes as input two entities, two sets of data. The first one is the matrix of features of the training set, and the second one is the dependent variable vector of the training set, where of course all the purchase decisions of the dependent variable vector correspond to the same customers of the matrix of features. All right. So what we had to input here was simply X train for the matrix of features of the training set, and then Y train for the dependent variable vector of the same training set. And there you go, my friends. Congratulations if you obtained this, and also congratulations if you tried, because indeed, that's how you build the logistic regression model. So there you go. That's one extra machine learning model in your toolkit, and you're going to have many more. And don't worry, I will train you on how to select the best one for any data set. Okay, great. So let's run this cell. This will indeed build and train the logistic regression model on your training set composed of X train and Y train. And here, by the way, you see all the parameters of the logistic regression model which you can tune. The most famous one is C, which is the inverse of the regularization strength, meaning that the smaller is C, the stronger will be the regularization, and therefore the more it will protect you from overfitting, right? But here we'll just keep the default value of 1, and there you go. We're ready to move on to the next step, predicting a new result. And so now, new exercise for you, because we already did it with regression. I taught you before how to, take your regressor and then call the predict method to predict the result of a single observation. And so here, the exercise that I would like you to do is to predict the purchased decision of a single result, the purchase decision of a single customer. And I will tell you which one. I would like you to predict the purchased decision of the first customer in the test set, who you will see is 30 years old and earns an estimated salary of $87,000. So I would like you to take these two inputs, these two features, with these values, 30 years old and $87,000 as the estimated salary, and I would like you to predict whether this customer has bought, yes or no, the SUV. You have the answer in Y-test, you take the first result of Y-test, and thus you'll be able to compare your prediction to the real result to figure out whether your prediction was correct. And so there you go. Please do the exercise. Please try to do this on your own first before we do it together in the next tutorial. Please predict the purchase decision of that first customer of the test set. And we will, of course, implement the solution in the next tutorial. Until then, enjoy machine learning.